Hey, future me here. I was playing some games on the phone, thought about doing another little short, and then it dawned on me that this video uh, is done in this format. I forgot to switch it over to landscape. So I thought I'd just apologize for that. I'll try to be more mindful in the future. But again, like the other one, it's unless you really enjoy looking at this, it's something that you can really just throw in the background. It's just me rambling. It's a pretty good one though this time around. But I'm gonna get back to it.
Smash Kaya.
So my wife says that I say too much. Something I will work on, but can't promise anything just yet. But since we're gonna go ahead and get started on a new lore-ish thing, we'll go ahead and cue music now. And see, I did it already. Let's just talk about Malhara and where this again. It's my homebrew world. See where it started. So back in the beginning, it was a planet by itself, run by demons. I don't know what its history was before the heroes of their time showed up to free the world, led by a dude named Drogan. He was a character I was playing in my buddy's campaign. I used the half-orc statistics, but his parents, one of the parents were elves. Bad stuff, war happens, and he was born. His uncles shunned him and stuff like that, then they kicked him out. Eventually his quest led him to meet Corin Lithorian, and I hope I said that right. And eventually he turned out to be a deity himself, just not knowing it. Eyes of Groomish, stuff like that came down. Anyway, so he went off on his venture because there was no real spot for him in that realm of sorts. So eventually he came across this place. I gave it a placeholder name of Pandora back in the day, and that kind of just stuck because I couldn't think of anything at the time. So, and I know that there was a joke dealing with a box that someone was gonna be the turning point of the war, but then there was a deck of many things thrown in there that blew up the box and the deck of many things, which scattered all over the world. And that's a fun concept that I'll save for another day on how I use the deck of holding. Or not the deck of holding. Deck of holding? That's wrong. Deck of many things. Bag of holding. Got it. Anyways, and the joke was like something, a one-liner saying your box belongs to Pandora now. It's whatever. But going on, Drogan ended up coming to Pandora and leading a campaign against the demons there to cleanse it out, because he felt the presence of another lost deity there. And he's like, oh, she needs to be free, all this other stuff. So they led a campaign. They started to get stronger or whatever, made some wishes, all level 20 stuff. Eventually pushing back this demon horde and sealing them away. After he did that, he and his adventuring band became sought after, as all the prisoners and stuff, all the slaves and stuff were like, yay, we're free. And they freed us, they're gods and stuff. So that elevated them up to their deity status. During that time, Drogan, he had the arcane spire constructed, and all these cloisters around, that started popping up, would act as temples or church heads, without actually being churches themselves. Big temples, and a lot like the whole Final Fantasy X unit thing. Gotta go cloister to cloister, kind of like that, but for the deities. And they don't all just house one deity. Like they might have a main presence, such as the I can't think of any at the top of my head. the eclipse is dedicated to Shad, who happens to be the deity of night and all those things lost and stuff. So he covers werewolves and vampires and stuff like that. But he also might have there's a presence of Rel there, who is basically death, my version of death, the Dark Priest. But I kind of got lost in train of thought. I know we were talking about Drogon. So anyways, yeah. So Drogon, towards the end, the big demon lord, King something, I don't know. I'll put it down here at the bottom. Sorry if you can't pronounce it. But, or I can't pronounce it. It might be easy. I forget his name. I don't know. I shouldn't forget his name, but I do. Things slip my mind. But towards the end of that battle, the demons were like, well, if we can't have it, nobody can. So he blew it up. Drogon got all his powers and stuff together, and he severed a portion of his own divine energy to create a large crystal that's just massively huge. I guess another Final Fantasy-esque thought is in the beginning of 14, where they're like, listen and all that other stuff, and then you see the big crystal, kind of like that, but planet size. It's just huge. And fractions or rifts of the planet of the Pandora start to flow around this crystal. So it's all these floating islands around this giant crystal, which acts as both sun and moon. It gives light, and then it dims light during the night, and all, no matter where you're at, it's always the same time. And north is towards the crystal, where south is away from it. Some islands turn, some islands will move, and so they'll connect with their other portions of islands before, and then you got the traders. The whole concept of it came off of airships without having airships. And I don't know if you are aware of Pirates of Dark Water, but those ships, the sails would go like this, and they would fly and glide, and it was really cool. And I wanted to bring back that concept. So you will have sailors going from one island, with their sails like this, then clicking them like that, then sailing off into the oceans of another island. And that's how they do trade. Not a lot of people are brave enough to do that kind of stuff, but when you're trying to expedite stuff and make a name for yourself, that happens. So there's this big, and that's basically, it's glory days were here because the gods were still around and they were keeping peace. You still had fragments of the demonic horde and stuff around that were like, yeah, we're still loyal to the archaic perfidy. I think that's, I've been just saying archaic lately. I know that there was another word that I used, but it was too hard for me to pronounce. But what they are translates into the faith of the faithless. Is basically what they are. Pardon. But they're still around, so you still have adventurers going, and this is the golden age. But eventually Drogon, he was getting weak because all his powers was going into the crystal of Aya, and so all the other deities were like, well, we got your back, bro. So all the deities kind of just left, and the age of humans started popping up. So they're like, well, war and conquer, because we're descendants of the deities, which is a cool concept for royalty and nobility that I pulled into my game, or into Malhara, is that anybody that says that they're noble or takes a noble background or has ties to actual nobility and royalty, they literally have the bloodline of the original 12 adventurers that came in to free Malhara, so they have divine blood in them, and that's what makes royalty. whether they're corrupt or not. It's, power. Once you have power, see the power, and that's why they're like, okay, yeah, this is the reason for your royalty. It's a fun concept. I don't know if you're welcome to use it if you want. And this is kind of what these videos are for, is just to get my brain out there for my players to grab information, and for anybody else watching it to maybe pick up an idea or two and say, hey, that Reggie Soma guy, he has a cool idea. You should watch his videos, so like and subscribe. Anyways, coughing again. And my wife's here, so I'm going to end this. And then pick it up later at the next appointment.
Hello.
All right, part 2, the continuation of what I was talking about. And there's a lady across from me in her car doing the same thing I'm doing, and I think it's funny because she looked at me and laughed. But so what were we talking about? Malhara and deities, like and subscribe. I know I said something like that. Anyways, going back to, we're trying to pull, we're talking about royalty. That's what it was. It was literally 4 seconds ago, but train of thoughts get broken. I know there's people out there that know what that's like. So yeah, after all the deities left, humans took over and started making war and stuff like that. They're like, well, we want god powers, and we're gonna be gods now too, since they're gone, and screw them. So they find their way over to Aya, and eventually put a crack in it. And how they ended up doing this is there are primals that, or the titans, such as the Tarask and the Phoenix, the Leviathan. There's a dragon turtle out there somewhere. They all represent a portion of Malhara's original power back before. They were the ones that made up the mass that was Pandora, until it was later changed to Malhara. And they once you kill one, though they'll slowly come back over time, there is a big influx. Like someone killed off Leviathan, and the waters turned calm. There was no more waves or anything. But then again, the ocean started to turn stagnant and stuff like that. So you don't really want to mess with them. But, when you are power hungry, you're going to do what you can to prove a point. So anyways, they get a hold of the aspect of humanity, which is an alien of sorts. Not really. I know I ended up basing it off a Pathfinder figure. I don't remember what the name of that Pathfinder figure is, but I'll pop it up right here somewhere. So you can go check that out. I'll even put the link of it in the description so you know which one I'm talking about. But he was the aspect of humanity, and they got a hold of him and they freed him, and humanity just, it's kind of like all the evils of humanities and the selfish desires and stuff like that they have, and the total desire to survive. And so they end up killing that off, and it was asleep the whole time in Aya. But because they did that, Aya ends up breaking in half. All the islands start falling. And the position of Malhara in general is in a pocket between the elemental plane of air and the elemental plane of water, like its surface. I know in some, like the older versions, the elemental plane of air was endless air. There's no top, no bottom. It was just completely endless. Same goes for elemental plane of water. But in 5th edition, they changed it a bit. So I don't know the concept of the area that existed. I don't know technically if it exists, but for the purpose of the homebrew world, whether it's truly is that pocket between the two elemental planes or just rumored to be, that's kind of what I was going with. So this next eras and stuff end up to where they're on the surface of the elemental plane of water. So it's this endless waterscape, and they're kind of used to it with the boats and jumping from boat to boat and stuff like that. Although that they didn't really need a reason to glide them anymore, so they eventually that technology was kind of lost. But over time, there's the super evil entity that popped up. I'm not going to go into who he is right now because he deserves, oh my gosh, a video for himself completely. I'll get everybody on board to talk about him because even in the campaign that I'm running right now, he's a god. He's a lich god. He's resetting everything. But anyways, he's literally making the material plane his own divine realm before he makes a new material plane or kicks everybody out of it. I don't know his exact plans, but he's doing what he wants to do. Anyways, I said I'm sorry, wife. I said I don't think too many people mind. I can do a long no. Get my thought together. And then, so eventually the demon horde gets free, the faith of the faithless. They come out and they start popping up here and there, and then they end up retaking Pandora / Malhara for themselves again because it was their land, and they're like, this is ours, we're gonna take it, this is what we're doing. And then that leads into the manipulation of the demon king and all that stuff, and eventually they're misled too, and ultimately this lich god ends up taking over everything before the world gets completely reset to a point to where it doesn't need to be reset anymore. And on that note, I remembered, because how the circle that is Malhara works is that it's divided in, I want to say, 8 eras, and there's 8 key moments that continuously change it. And at the very end, spoiler alert for those in my campaign, Shegvo is she is in charge of resetting time. She is the goddess of ruin, and she, after things go to, beyond repair, she makes sure that it completely gets stamped out to a new slate, to where that spark of creation starts over again, and they start back in the first era. And then it just keeps on going around and around, because no one's figured out how to prevent it from happening until recently, and this with the Lich King. But again, another video, really. I guess I got many video ideas. I'm gonna write that down. So it just kept going, and every now and then, depending on where they were, they might have a lot of cameos from other players that they played. And I think I'm just rambling at this point about it, but the focus was kind of on how my world of Malhara works, and it has a lot of variation. Towards the end, they're trying to free the deities again to bring them back into another rotation so that they're there for the rotation. So far, my players have freed a few of them, some by accident, other by on purpose, and the like. But Malhara as a whole is constantly changing. It has eras where the magical weave is very much present, and bags of holdings are everywhere for everybody. And then the final era where they're in now is very much hard to find magic, as it's being all siphoned to a singular point, to a singular person. And so, although that they can get a bag of holding, it's remarkable that they would have such a thing. But yeah, that's all I really have for this video. Again, tell me what you think. Do you want to know more? I got the 10 and 20, which are the deities and their offspring. And then I have the archaic. If you want to learn about them, I got those. And then I got homebrew creatures such as the aspect of humanity and then the Sea King and all that other stuff. You know, I don't. But yeah. So before I make a quick fool of myself, let's go ahead and we'll end it. And then, but if you could, with or without glasses, I could go either way. But I feel like I should be wearing these more often.